This was a fascinating story to me that I was reading about cults. I don't know if you remember, if you're of a particular age, if you're sort of in your 50s, you'll remember that when you were in your 20s, there was an awful lot of talk about cults, about joining a cult, about being in a cult, about avoiding a cult, about making sure that you didn't fall foul to a cult. And you used to get cult members, and I'm being very careful how I say this word, but cult members, you used to get them hanging around outside train stations, bus stations, waiting for young people and scooping them up and making them cult members. That was then, and I thought, actually, we've pretty much moved on from there. But reading this article, it's absolutely quite extraordinary about a guy who has spent his life, he was once in a cult, but he spent his life getting people out of them, for people who want to get out of the cults. And he said there are 2,000 cults currently in the UK. I honestly thought we'd moved on from there. But I guess they've just moved on in a different way of recruiting cult members. And that's all about grooming. It's all about grooming. So I wanted to talk about this because to me, I honestly thought it's sort of gone. You know, we'd moved on from there, but no. Joining me now is Radhia Gleis, who's an ex-cult follower, an ex-cult member. She spent 25 years in a cult. And actually, she's in a Netflix documentary called How to Become a Cult Leader. And she also features in an Amazon documentary called Holy Hell. And joins me now, which I'm absolutely fascinated. She's joining me from Austin, Texas. Radhia, thank you so much for joining me.
I'm happy to be here.
25 years. Tell me what it was like to be in a cult. How did you get into it, and what was it like when you were in it?
Well, okay, so first of all, you know, I love to say this, you know, nobody joins a cult. You know, nobody wakes up one day and says, you know, I think I'm going to join a cult. It sort of happens. And with my particular group, it was a spiritual community that evolved into a cult. And what typically happens, I think, when a group gets together, if there's a leader, if usually leaders like that have narcissistic tendencies, and as the group evolves, so does the leader, and so does the narcissism. So what turns out to be a cult starts out to be maybe a lovely experience. That's how you know, it's sort of like the frog in warm water. You know, the next thing you know, you start questioning, and by the time you start questioning, you're already deeply immersed, which makes it a lot more difficult to get out.
It seems with many cults, Radhia, that women do particularly badly. That there's that. So the narcissistic tendency of the cult leaders, who tend to be men, then very quickly turns to being quite abusive towards women and girls. Is that commonplace across all cults, or is it just the ones that I've seen programs on?
Well, in my particular situation, the cult leader was homosexual. So the girls were not abused. It was the men that were abused, which is rather unusual.
Yeah.
But with any narcissist, and I will tell you, it doesn't matter whether it's a religious cult or a political cult or any kind of groupthink of any kind. The leader, who usually has narcissistic tendencies, as those narcissistic tendencies develop, then there's a certain pattern. That's what the Netflix series is about, how to become a cult leader. And it doesn't matter whether it's a Jim Jones or a Charlie Manson, or with my particular leader, his name was Jaime Gomez. And make no mistake, and I was telling Carla yesterday, it's kind of weird that they put my episode, which is the third episode, between Charlie Manson and Jim Jones. Because we were not at all that serious or dangerous, although, there was abuse. We weren't murdering and committing suicide, which I was interviewed once or a couple times where they actually were disappointed that there was no murder or suicide in our group. But what happens is, there's characteristics of a narcissist. That narcissist develops into a malignant narcissism, which develops into a sociopath. And so sexual abuse is part of the playbook.
And it's a form of control, of course. Rape is a form, yeah.
Yeah, it's the most intimate of control. So usually you will always, see that sexual abuse follow as the group develops, because it's right out of the playbook,
Yeah. Like I said, it's used in war as a control mechanism and as a torture, and so it makes sense in a horrific way that it would be used as a form of control within a cult environment. When did you realise that this was something other than what you first thought you were getting involved in?
Well, that's a long story, and I wrote a book on it. I started to be really kind of disinterested in him or what he had to offer in about 1995, but I didn't leave until 2006.
Wow.
So I was really conflicted for about 11 years. And the reason why, there's a lot of reasons, but, being in a group, that becomes your family, that becomes your best friends, and you're sharing a common experience that you're not going to get on the outside. So it's not that easy to just say, okay, I'm not interested in you anymore, because I have an entire culture that I know I'm going to leave. And when I do, first of all, my family was dead, all except for my brother, who disowned me. So there was nothing on the outside for me to go to. And so for me to face the fact that if I go, I'm going to be isolated and demonized, and it's going to be a rough road. And it was. I lost everything. So it's not that easy to just kind of go, oh, I'm disenchanted, I'm going to walk away.
Is the cult that you left still in operation?
Well, unfortunately, yes. Now, not in Austin. Actually, I had a lot to do with bringing it down in Austin. I was an elder in the group, and so when an elder suddenly decides to disappear or leave, especially when you've got activities every single day that you've been doing for 20 some odd years, and suddenly, boom, Radhia is gone, that makes a splash, that's noticeable. So the next thing that went on was the next elder, who was close to me, said, where did you go? And I said, I came to find out that there was sexual abuse happening with my close friends. And so that was sort of my line in the sand. I was like, okay, I'm not going to tolerate this anymore. So when I left, then the next elder came to me and I told her what was going on. So she left. And then the next elder came and they left. And so it was like a dominoes effect in Austin, man. It literally came down in about 2 weeks.
Just, I mean, your book, The Followers, it goes in, like you said, it goes into details about how all of this happened. If you're a parent now or a friend of somebody who you think has got involved in a cult, is there anything that you can do, or does it have to sort of be them that makes the decision?
Well, yeah, good luck. I mean, it has to be them that makes that decision. Yeah. But here's the thing, and it's an important factor to remember. The family members need to not make it about them. Don't take it personal. Like my brother disowned me, basically. So I had no place to go. And so the best recommendation I can do is to try, now different cults try and isolate you from your family members, from the outside, etc. So as you start to make contact, try very, very hard not to, one, have an opinion of what you think they're experiencing, because you don't know, believe me. And when you're in the group, you're well programmed to believe that you are exceptional and that anyone on the outside doesn't know you, doesn't understand you, will never be to the level that you are at, right? So, you know, when family members, it's kind of shocking to them to lose or to have the feeling that they've lost their family member. So the worst thing that they can do is harbor that kind of resentment or opinion. You know, you made a mistake, or this is stupid, or, you know, you don't know what you're doing or whatever, because you're already programmed.
Oh, it's part of the grooming, isn't it? It's grooming.
Oh, very much so. And you're already programmed to believe that they don't know you, they don't understand you, and they never will. So the more offensive they are, the less success you're going to have in making that connection.
Just very quickly, because we're stuffing a lot into this, I'm aware of that, but the recruitment of cult members now, like I was just saying, in my youth, they were hanging around outside tube stations and bus stations, right, looking for vulnerable young people. This must be online now, right? There must be a pathway now that is much more scary and much quicker.
Right, right. And the concept of recruitment it's a variable within the group. It really depends on what the nature of the group is. Like, I never was groomed to recruit, ever. As a matter of fact, our cult was very difficult to get into because the group leader, as his narcissism developed, became more and more paranoid. Right, so it was really difficult to get in, and it was real exceptionalism, right?
Yeah, right.
So I'm never in the beginning. It wasn't a matter of recruitment. In the beginning, we were having so much fun that we were literally inviting our friends. So, and I was in when he was not a guru at the time. So there was only, like, when I first met him, there was only like 4 of us. Yeah. Right. And then there was 8 of us, and then there was 16 of us, and then there was 32 of us, you know, that kind of thing. It grew sort of organically because we were enjoying whatever we were experiencing. Yeah. So we just wanted, you know, and if you see the movie Holy Hell is on Amazon, and this is a documentary. Will Allen is the director. He's the filmmaker. He was in the group, and he was the videographer for the group. He wasn't doing it thinking he'd ever be out. He was just taking, he was a videographer. So we have 30 years of archival footage
I mean, listen. Having spoken to you, as soon as I get home this afternoon, I am watching both of those. I am absolutely fascinated in the whole psychology around this, and I cannot wait to see it. Radhia Gleis, thank you so much. I've been absolutely fascinating. The book is The Followers by Radhia Gleis, and the programmes, if you want to watch them, I'm definitely going to be having a look. The Netflix documentary, How to Become a Cult Leader, and also an Amazon documentary called Holy Hell.